Hi everyone, my name is Moonshine and I'm the host of today's AMA with TEXITcoin, which is the future of decentralized digital money. And TEXITcoin is basically building a permissionless layer one focused on decentralized mining, peer-to-peer payments, and community-driven participation. And so in today's AMA, we are going to cover what is TEXITcoin, how TEXITcoin works, the project ecosystem and key features, the decentralization and community benefits, and how each and every one of you, including me and you, can get involved with this project. And we have Bobby here who is going to be presenting about the project. But before we kick right there into what the project is about, Bobby, I'd like you to introduce yourself and the team behind your project.
That's all me. So I'm Bobby Gray. I'm the founder of TEXITcoin. I have been in the honest money and alternative currency arena since I started my own currency back in 2008. And I am backed up by a bunch of great people, including my friends at Luna PR. They are the best of the very best when it comes to all things Web3 marketing, public relations, and promotion. So very good to be here today. I'll tell you my whole story in just the next few moments.
Yeah, definitely. You could just kick right there into it.
Well, here we go. So TEXITcoin is designed as a Bitcoin time machine. The easiest way to think of it is like Bitcoin back when it was young and cheap and didn't have all the answers to all the questions, and had a great community of people that cared about Satoshi Nakamoto's original vision of decentralized digital peer-to-peer money. A lot of people have forgotten here in 2026 in Web 4 as it's coming our way with agentic this and that there's a second half to the word cryptocurrency. And what that means with currency is that it's designed for people to actually use to get things in the marketplace. And so TEXITcoin picks up where the early crypto community left off by finishing some of those chapters, like getting people to actually use alternative currency in this fast, exciting digital world. I come from the background of gold and silver coins. And so, of course, the way that I think about things, including, digital currency and financial technology, is going to be old fashioned. And so some people say, well, we don't really need any more coins and we don't need proof of work anymore. We've got better, faster tech now. And I say, well, there was a reason why proof of work was so valuable and important, because we had to actually invest time and energy and resources and effort in building the infrastructure that was going to power this, new chapter of, fast, decentralized digital peer-to-peer money. And so when I started TEXITcoin, I looked at all the different things that were out there, and I said, this is a great opportunity to use proof of work mining, but make it a little bit different. And TEXITcoin, as far as I know, is the only crypto out there that's got a geographic limitation on where we're actually building that proof of work digital mining infrastructure. We're building it exclusively in Texas. And the reason for that is because we want individuals, preferably Texans and Americans first, to participate in cryptocurrency. I had the fortune of watching the cryptocurrency industry really explode in Asia. I was living in Singapore at the time, and I'll never forget watching Bitcoin hit $20,000 quite briefly at the end of 2017 from the top of the Marina Bay Sands Hotel in Singapore. And, America is kind of getting left behind when it comes to the digital currency revolution. And so I looked at all those different things and I decided it was time to get out of gold and silver coin manufacturing, get fully into cryptocurrency, even though I had already been dabbling in a few kind of different but exciting things over the years, and create a proof of work coin that started out as a Litecoin clone. But like I mentioned, exclusively building the proof of work infrastructure in Texas using our abundant energy and inexpensive costs of electricity to build that proof of work mine right there in the Lone Star State. And so it's a little old fashioned, but it worked. And what we did was we brought together more than 50,000 miners in our community, individuals. We crowdsourced almost $150 million cash. And we used that to build out our mine, to pay out commissions, and to promote our coin from one side of the globe to the other. And so the project started January 26th of 2024 and has become one of the most exciting things in the crypto space today.
Wow, that's a very comprehensive breakdown on how you guys started the project and how you guys have been pushing the project. And just before we start, I start asking specific questions. Based on what you just explained about, crowdfund sourcing, gathering a lot of miners and all of that, how have you guys been able to keep everyone active even till date and, push the system in a way that the ecosystem keeps expanding and makes what you guys are building very adaptable to these people who you guys have brought on board?
Well, getting hit with a cease and desist from the state of Texas was definitely a great catalyst for us to look inward and developing more tools and utilities that gave our network more purpose. I don't know if that's the best answer to your question, but it does give you a little bit of insight as to, what you do next. You bring together all this money, you bring together all these people, and the community is asking for purpose. What are we going to use this thing for? How do we make it so that TEXITcoin isn't just another, pump out there in the space? What is it that we can do to actually get people using this alternative currency? And so I started something called Downtown Digital, and we endeavor to create community currencies the same way that I did it years ago with gold and silver and copper coins through fairs and festivals. But this time with, fast, easy to use, easy to scale digital tools. And so what we've done is we've taken my background and experience in complementary currency systems and paired that up with the financial technology that allows us to build and grow thousands of times more quickly than we could have ever done in the past with physical coins. And so now that we've had some time to develop more tech that give us the ability to make our chain more useful and purposeful, we've come out with quite a few things that allow our community members to participate in a much more meaningful way than in the past with just counting their coins and monetizing them on centralized exchanges. And so Downtown Digital is one of them, Fair Money is one of them, Crypto U is one of them, Zero Chill is one of them, along with probably another half dozen other things that give people the ability to interact with Web3 like it was intended. Stream TXC, for example, is a great service that runs on TEXITcoin chain that allows people to share videos that stamps them now to IPFS and permanently embeds their content identifier on a chain. And so, we're looking now at this landscape of Web3 and saying, well, not only did we forget to finish the chapter about using crypto as money, but we can also, decentralize other services as well that we may not have fully accomplished along the way. Now, all of that's in addition to some of the great things that we've done recently, like Nectar Pay and CryptoPop, where we're building merchant tools to connect consumers and small business owners by giving them the ability to pay in all kinds of crypto and also providing an incentive for them to use crypto at point of sale as well. So, like I said, the last 6 months have been really great for us because we've had an opportunity to focus more on utility and community engagement through some of the great tech that we've built in this time that we have had a little bit of quiet time in our lives.
Yeah, I mean, looking through your website, going through what you guys have been building so far, and the updates on X was something really incredible to see, especially during this time in crypto. So I would really see great kudos to the team to see how they have been working extensively to make things work. And just because you mentioned the merchants tools, now talking about these, then you're trying to also involve non-crypto users, right? So if TextIt is intended for everyday transactions, what is the strategy for making it convenient enough for someone with no crypto experience to use for a normal purchase?
So that's the whole idea. The whole idea is to bring new people into crypto community. It's very frustrating now to be out at a restaurant or a shop and ask if I can pay in crypto and have the small business owner look at me like I've got two heads. It's like, hey, crypto's not brand new. It's been out, coming up on 20 years now. It's time to get with the program. We all know that the future of money is digital, and yet retail adoption is at a 9-year low. And so what we've got that I think the rest of the community lacks is a conversation that invites people to come into our exciting world of cryptocurrency and take us by the hand and, go into this journey together. And what we need in order for that to actually happen and happen at scale is incentive. Right now, if you want to accept crypto, the payment providers out there that are offering that type of service are doing it the same way that traditional credit card merchant processors go about that type of challenge. It's like, imagine using a fax machine and then all of a sudden somebody invents email, and the guy that's been making and selling fax machines for years, is beginning to offer email services, but they want to sell you, refillable toner cartridges so that you have to pay to send an email. And that's not the point. The point is that with decentralized money, we can do it without having to pay for it or go through the same types of providers that we did in the past. And so what we're building now with no fee merchant services is the ability to think about, crypto and the future of money and payments, not like, an evolution in the payment service provider industry, but as a whole new evolution that gives us kind of a second chance at rethinking how, we should or should not be skimming money off the top of a small business owner's transaction. And so the key to success is simplicity with user experience and incentive for both the merchant and the consumer. If it's difficult and expensive, then adoption is going to be what we're seeing now, which is, tiny, a fraction of what we're seeing with Visa, MasterCard.
Really appreciate that answer. And another question I wanted to ask was relating to the mining. Generally, mining naturally follows the cheapest electricity and most efficient hardware. So how does the team prevent Textids from eventually experiencing the same industrial concentration that the project criticizes in Bitcoin?
Sure, of course. And the way that we do that is with an adherence to strict rules that make it so that no one is allowed to buy more than a fixed amount of mining hash power. When proof of work mining started to expand outside of the home computer and GPUs and ASICs showed up, we saw the beginning of that centralization take place. 15 years ago, you could participate as an individual, and then you needed to join a pool, and then you needed to, be really aware of your electricity price and your heating and cooling infrastructure. Now you're unable to approach proof of work mining without an institutional sized budget and a nuclear reactor sized, power generation strategy. It's, as centralized as it could possibly get. And so through the establishment of simple rules that create a level playing field for miners to participate with a cap on how much any one individual is allowed to purchase, gives us the ability to keep that playing field level and fair And what we've done as well is we've made it so that you can get more mining hash power, but you can only earn it through helping our community grow. And so that's the best way that we've thought of to avoid the centralization of proof of work hash power that we've seen with the other large chains.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And another thing I notice is how the projects compare texted scarcity properties to gold. And we all know that gold's monetary value comes not only from scarcity, it also comes from centuries of liquidation, physical utilities, and other entities surrounding gold's value, right? So what do you believe will create the equivalent monetary premium for texted beyond simply having a capped supply?
Well, that's an interesting question and a good point to bring up about understanding really what money's purpose is. And when you think about what most of the maxis point to as what makes Bitcoin valuable, they go first and almost exclusively to the limited supply. And a limited supply or scarcity definitely is an important component of a currency, but a currency's true value comes from its usability in the marketplace. I can design something and there's only ever one of it, and that makes it incredibly scarce, but it doesn't make it usable as a good form of money. And so the analogies that you get between proof of work, crypto mining, and gold or silver, a precious metals based currency is really important because we make proof of work coins kind of the same way that gold coins or silver coins are made. You start with a raw material, and in crypto proof of work, our raw material is electricity. And so we take that raw material, we refine it through a series of specialized industrial processes instead of, melting and smelting and rolling and casting and stamping equipment. In cryptocurrency, we use ASICs. And so we put that raw material through a specialized manufacturing process. And at the end of the day, we get digital coins as the output from that day's work. And so the fact that it's scarce is important. The fact that it requires real work and energy to come into existence, unlike proof of stake coins where you can cook up 1 trillion of them out of thin air. These are very important properties of money, but ultimately the true test comes from the marketplace. And if the money is not fast and usable and trusted by the marketplace, then you've got a very fancy collectible. And while we definitely value digital collectibles like NFTs, there's a place for those in the market as well, it doesn't mean that they work very well as currency for the marketplace. And so we like all of these properties. We like scarcity. We like, the tangibility of proof of work. But we ultimately know that for TEXITcoin to survive and thrive, we need to build a marketplace of consumers and producers that are willing to trade it, or at least in the beginning, use it as the rails to exchange value. And that's the job that we're really good at.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for expatiating on that. And the next question I wanted to ask is, seeing that texted coin expands, may expand beyond its Texas roots, with how you guys intend to expand the ecosystem, even in real life. So as a team, looking to partner with established businesses and organizations that can accelerate real-world adoption. And can we expect any major partnerships announcements in the near future?
No major partnership announcements in the near future. What we're doing now with NectarPay, the merchant point of sale terminal payment service provider, is we're building it to accept not just TEXITcoin, but almost every other crypto as well. And so the goal is to be able to reach out to our friends across the crypto community, whether they're supporters of Bitcoin or Litecoin or Bitcoin Cash or Dash or Doge, and invite them to go a little out of their way to support the small business and retailers that accept payment in crypto, honest money. And from what we've seen so far, the crypto community is very willing to support small business owners that accept payment in a currency that they also like and trust. And so we don't have any specific partnerships that we will announce anytime soon, but we do know that being able to get this concept to work first in Texas, and then beyond our borders across the country, and then internationally. We just had a big launch event last week in the Philippines that was an absolute slam dunk of a hit. And so we know that the world needs honest money. We know that our version of it is extremely engaging and inviting. And so we're very happy to see the adoption from one side of the world to the other. And we're hoping that other people see the foundation that we're laying for cryptos of all shapes and sizes to be used, and then develop and explore those opportunities as well. A really great example of that is with wearables. I don't know if you've seen some of these cold storage crypto hardware companies coming out now with wearable tech, so they can actually have your cold storage wallet on your finger as a ring. And so our tech supports that type of technology. And so if you've got a cold storage product and you want to be able to use that cold storage product point of sale, then we're going to build the rails to make that possible. And like I said, it all comes down to a great user experience and a great incentive for both the merchant and the consumer. And as we build those things, we're sure that the partners will come.
Okay. Why I asked this question is, partnership have proved to be a very important way or a good stepping stone for projects who really want to expand across different jurisdictions and not just a certain area of kind of people or country, right? So, but with the way you've structured your answer, it seems more like something that when your project gets attention, it attracts the right partners, right? But another way that I see that projects have actually used partnerships in terms of funding, and why I want to mention this finance aspect is that I noticed that your project has no pre-mine, VC allocation, foundation allocation, or team allocation. Despite the fact I think you mentioned $15 million or something that you guys were able to crowd fund. But is this a way that you guys have intend to keep funding the development of this project indefinitely?
Yeah, it is. And it's all done by individuals. We don't have any kind of problem with seed rounds or Series A's or glass-walled conference rooms. If that's the way that your project raises capital, then more power to you. But what we see is that anything that starts with that type of strategy is always going to gravitate towards centralization, because there's a stakeholder that's looking to make money. There's an investor that's looking for their exit. And when you begin with that in your basic foundation, your premise, it means that those decisions are going to be made primarily to the benefit of that investor, that stakeholder, that VC. If individuals are your backbone, then what you'll find is that every decision that you make is geared towards the benefit of the individual. And that's a really important thing to us. And we've got 50,000 or more of them now with a vested interest in the success of our project. And every one of those miners that comes into our community as an individual is another person that's working towards building the success and the growth of our project. And so we've got, a huge community of people that are cheering for us. And I think that that's way more powerful than a small group of, initial investors or VCs that are steering those decisions towards what's in it, what's best for them, as opposed to what's best for the community of individuals.
Yeah, I really appreciate the honesty and the team standing on the ground on how to finance the project. It actually gives more structure to what you guys are building, and I really appreciate the answer. So I think my next question was about the roadmap. Um, on your roadmap, I see that you guys are in talks or will eventually talk about exporting textile into Japan, Korea, and Chinese markets. Why did the team choose this market specifically, and what characteristics of those economies make them strategically important to textile long-term liquidity or merchant adoption?
Well, like I mentioned a little while ago, I think of crypto in a very old-fashioned way. I think of it like manufacturing. I think of it like we're producing a product in Texas, and then our goal is to export and trade that product all over the world. Well, it's no surprise that the biggest markets for crypto are Japan, Korea, and China right now. In fact, more than 50% of all trading comes out of just Japan and Korea. And so we manufacture the product in Texas, but we want to trade with our partners all over the world. And if they're in Japan, Korea, and China, then it's our job to be good ambassadors of our mission and our vision and our strategy and to find ways to trade with them. If those markets are primarily now in control of, Bitcoin and some of the other majors, then that's great. Let's trade with each other. We've got TEXITcoin and you've got Bitcoin. And so the goal is to get the community currency valued and traded and used all over the world. We've got great utility that gives our network purpose all over the world. And so as we start to engage these other markets in Asia specifically that are already very pro crypto, we think that we'll have a much easier time getting our roots to go deep because it's been a bit of a challenge in the USA. USA is way far behind the rest of the world in terms of crypto adoption. And so if we can build our community in the USA the hard way, then we're looking forward to making friends with crypto communities on the other side of the world and asking them to trade with us.
Interesting. And about the question, we went over before is something I wanted to mention or, just ask. I don't know. So, when you begin to expand towards these non-crypto users, I don't know, you may need to, want to make videos that are very explanatory that they can also that they can always go to those videos and look over. So is this something you guys already have? And I also wanted to ask about like a referral code that would, keep them enthusiastic about wanting to, talk to their fellow merchants or business owners about this system that has been put in place for them.
Sure. We've got a bunch of great videos on cryptou.ai. Education is the cornerstone of our project success. We started this by going back to my gold and silver customers, people that are not in any way interested in cryptocurrency, and we asked them to take another look at crypto, get off the sideline, come into the game, and let's learn about it. If it took 20 years for the US dollar to catch on as a currency, then we understand it takes time for people to become comfortable with a new currency to adopt it. And if we don't take that time to understand it, then we're going to get left behind. If we refuse to engage it, we'll get dragged into it later. And so education is the best way to go about that challenge, not just because people need to understand the technology, but they also need to understand it well enough to not get scammed. And crypto is full of red flags. It's full of bad actors. It's full of all kinds of digital risks, not just from hackers. It's forgetting a password or, writing down your seed phrase on a piece of paper and losing it. I mean, there's a lot of things that we need to teach people so that they feel comfortable engaging cryptocurrency. The referral and affiliate programs that we've built to put cash or hash power in people's hands from helping grow our community are second to none. And so you can definitely go and learn about those at TEXITcoin.org or at nectar-pay.com. And we would love to have more people out there with a vested interest in our growth and success by helping share our vision and our mission and our strategy with small business owners and with other people that are interested in getting started with the cryptocurrency community.
Really interesting to hear, and thank you so much for walking us through that question. I genuinely think we could go on and on about Texted because you sound like an AI who has everything in his head. But I definitely want to give it to the
I'm a
community
real
to ask some
person for sure.
questions.
I'm definitely sure that I'm a real person.
Yeah, definitely one could tell. So, but I want to keep it open to the community because these are the listeners and people who would have interest in the project. So, guys, if you have questions, kindly signify by raising your hands. I can see a lot of questions in my DM and even in the chat. I'll be scrolling through them to pick a few good ones that we could ask on the live VC. So the first hand I'm seeing raised up here is Kelvin Connor. Please ensure you have good network connection and try to be considerate of others so we can have more questions in. Thank you. So Kelvin, you can go ahead first with your question, please.
Thank you, Moonshine. Hope you guys can hear me. Hi, Bobby. How you doing?
Hello. Hello. You were able to figure out the microphone thing much more quickly than I could. Good job.
Good job. Yeah, I'm using earpiece, so it's quite better here. Just regarding my question is about uses. So what specific advantage or real world benefits does the detected coin for that could make someone already uses and trusts Litecoin, switch to the Texas or choosing the Texas instead of their everyday transactions, something like that.
I'm not sure, Moonshine, if you heard that question better than I did. I got a little bit of it.
Yeah,
It was
it was
about
kind of breaking up.
usability.
It was kind of breaking up. I don't know,
Is it better?
Kelvin, your voice keeps breaking. If you could quickly send me your question in the text or you try again and let's see
I
if it's
think
Can you hear
if
me
better.
I
now?
understood the question, and please send it over by text as well. I think the
Okay.
question was like, why TEXITcoin and not something like Litecoin, which has been around forever and ever, which has never been down before, which already has a community? And the answer to that question is very simple. We wanted to start with a blank slate. We could have jumped on to Bitcoin and participated in the, million or so coins that are left to mine. We wanted to start fresh. We're building this thing, and so we want the reward to go exclusively to the people that are building it, not to the guys that got in early and gave up a long time ago. We want to make our own people rich as opposed to anyone else. The thing that makes us different is that I actually know how to get an alternative currency going. And so if I know how to do that, then why not start with a blank slate so that I get the majority of the upside for myself and for the community that helps me, as opposed to the Litecoin community, which I don't think is familiar or prepared to take on that challenge today.
Yeah, I think he got your
Thank
question.
you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Kelvin, for asking a question. Really appreciate you coming out. And if you have any more clarifications due to your network, you could definitely head to their X to ask whatever more questions you may have. So let's have another live question here from Nelks. Nelks, you have been unmuted. You can go ahead with your question, please.
Hey, Moonshine, thank you very much. I hope I'm audible. Hello, Bobby, right? Hello, Bobby.
Yes.
Am I audible enough?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Oh, okay. All right, so I'll just go straight. Bobby mentioned that he's trying to solve a Bitcoin centralization problem by making mine accessible for individuals, which is a very good thing. Solving that problem is a very good thing. But your economic model and your, because I have to read your light paper and the rest of them. So your economic model that you stated out there still depends on sufficient coin value to make that mining worthwhile. So which comes first in your thesis that you're talking about? TSC utility creating value for miners, or miners creating the security that gives TSC liquidity? So what is the mechanism that breaks that chicken and egg cycle during the early stages that you're mentioning about? That's just what I want to know.
I'm not sure I understand your question completely. You're talking about the miners securing the network or the
Yeah,
participants creating value in the network, and which one comes first?
yes, I read from your light paper what you have there. You say you're trying to create a problem. You're trying to make sure that mining is accessible to people. But still, your economic model also depends on sufficient coin value to make that mining worthwhile. So I'm trying to say, how will it work? How does it come first? Are you going to, which one is it coming first? Is it the TLC creating utility value for miners, or miners creating security and gives TLC utility? So which comes first?
Well, the mine comes first. When we started building it, we knew that there was going to be no utility unless the mine got to a point where it was big enough and reliable enough to be trusted. And so we think we're at that point today. We're using now about 23% of our goal. Our goal was to get to 35 megawatts of power. And today we're using about, let's see, what is that? About coming up on 9 megawatts. We are running at about 23 million mega hash of script mining power. And so we believe that, like you said, it is a bit of a chicken and egg problem, where if there's no utility, then there's no purpose to build the mine. If the mine's not big enough, then no one trusts it enough to build utility. And so the first phase of our project was getting the mine started without utility. And for that, we need people that were willing to take the biggest leap of faith and join our project, not knowing if the utility would follow. And we're well past now being able to answer that question. So we got to a great point. The mine is big enough to be reliable and trusted. And now the utility comes in splendid fashion with all the different things I mentioned earlier, especially the Nectar Pay and the Crypto Pop, the consumer wallet and the merchant payment terminal experience that runs on the TXC chain.
All right, thank you very much. I think your answer to the question shows that you care about the miners first. So thank you very much. Thank you, Moonshine. Thanks for the opportunity to ask those questions.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nels, for doing that question. So, a question here that I picked out. I'm trying to look for the first one, but I can't find it. I'm so sorry. So let me just read out the second one I actually highlighted from Nina. So Nina is asking, can you get into confirmation times 6 blocks for finality at 3 minutes spacing? So is that about 18 minutes?
Yeah, that's the math on it. We suggest to the merchants that they establish rules for their business that they're comfortable with. When you use a layer 2, for example, as soon as that transaction hits the mempool, there's almost a 100% rate of it being a completed, finished mine transaction shortly thereafter. But we encourage the merchants to set a limit, so that if a larger transaction comes through and they want to make sure that it's mined completely before letting that good or service go out the door, that they're able to configure that in their merchant payment settings for their store.
Great. I hope that answers your question, Nina. If you want more clarification, you can definitely text the team or follow them on X and you get more answers. Another question here from Ion Chlor is, Is the project connected to Texas independence movement, or is that just branding?
Well, that's an excellent question because it was 100% connected back in 2024 when the project began. Texas was going through quite a tumultuous period in American politics. And so that's where our discussion began. What I can tell you from my heart is that I do believe that the U.S. is in big trouble. I don't want that, but I know that every empire in the history of mankind eventually has come to an end and failed. And I think that Texas, with its robust economy and its culture, is not going to go down with the ship. And so if it's going to be its own country, then it needs to have its own currency. And if the people of Texas decide for themselves what that currency could be, then they've got a real chance of avoiding some new fiat currency being jammed down our throats. And so we don't know what the future holds for Texas. We don't know what political decisions the people of Texas will make when that future comes. But we do hope that honest money is at the very core of that future for us and our fellow Texans.
Great. Thank you so much for answering that question. I hope that answers the question. Are you floor? Another question here from Sakura says, what is the team doing to prevent the kind of pump and dump volatility that hits new L1 projects?
Well, step one for us is we have a very strict no influencer policy. We don't hire them. We do lots and lots of advertising and promotion. We've got more than 100 wrapped cars out on the street, many of them kind of supercars. We've got a hot air balloon. We've had more than 300 billboards up across the country promoting our coin, our price, and mine, trade, spend. And so we know that real value comes from utility. And so instead of investing in promoters to pump, we invest in merchant terminals to allow people to trade crypto with each other using our chain as the backbone. And so we're investing our resources not in promoters, but in services that will give us great staying power. It's not the fastest way to get to where we want to go, but it's definitely the best way to ensure the continued success of us over the long term.
Great, that makes a lot of sense. So another question here from Ahmad says, who actually decides on protocol changes? Is there a formal governance process?
No, today we don't have that. Today we have a small community of leadership, but at the moment, the protocol decisions rest squarely on my shoulders, and we get some negative feedback for that. I would say that the founder of any big crypto project is extraordinarily influential in the decisions about how to run the network. And what I can commit to the people in our community and the observers that are looking is that you want somebody that has a proven track record of a commitment to honest money as the ultimate decision maker when it comes to protocol changes. And what you can count on from me and our community is that we'll always make protocol change decisions that are geared towards keeping our coin usable as a functional currency. And so we imagine that at some point as we mature and grow, that model may change. But we hope that it always stays in the hands of people that are as committed as I am to alternative complementary private currency.
Yeah, so let's have a live question here from Chuck Bot. So you can go ahead with your question, mate.
No, I'm good. I just pushed the wrong button.
Oh, I think it was a mistake from his end. That's okay, I understand. So let's have Jerry ask a question. Jerry, you can go ahead with your question, mate.
I'm audible.
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay. Nice to meet you, Bobby. Thanks, Moonshine, for unmuting me and giving me opportunity to ask
Sure
my
thing,
question.
Jerry.
Yeah. Nice to meet you, Bobby. Um, I went through the website and it's quite a lot and still researching more about it. But there's something that came to me that I just want to bring to the audience and have you answer the question. So the question goes like this: well, TextCoin has maintained its mining packages, that its mining packages represents participation in actual cryptocurrency mining rather than a passive investment product. However, I think the TSSB that argued that purchasers should effectively rely on mine TXC ongoing efforts to regenerate return. Now the question here is, what's the strongest factual distinction between purchasing a Texi coin and a mine package and entering into a traditional investment contract where profits depends primarily on the managerial efforts of others?
I'm sorry, was your question what's the strongest argument against that being true?
Yeah, the strongest factual distinction between purchasing the Testcoin mining package and entering into a traditional investment contracts
Sure.
where the profits depends primarily on the managerial efforts of others.
Yeah, that's a good question. And we just spent 4 days last week in open court in Texas going through that very question. It was live streamed on YouTube. The judge was kind enough to allow us to share that entire hearing, all of it, 100% of it, with the world. And TEXITcoin has been the gold standard in transparency. And that doesn't make TEXITcoin less risky, and it doesn't make TEXITcoin less likely to be an investment or a security as we were accused of. But we do like the fact that everyone that wanted to was able to tune in and listen to those arguments being made in open court. The answer to your question is very simple. The answer to your question is that TEXITcoin is a digital commodity. And whether you buy TEXITcoin off of the open market via a centralized exchange or a DeFi exchange, or you purchase a mining package that gives you TXC every day, it is still the same thing. It's still a digital commodity. And so purchasers of a TEXITcoin mining package got every day exactly what they expected. And that wasn't a share of the company's profits. It wasn't a percentage of, the dollars that the company made on a fixed return. It was a variable return based on what the actual mine was able to output on every single given day. And so whether you're buying a digital commodity one time or you're entering an agreement for a digital commodity over a long period of time, it's still the same thing. It's just a digital commodity. It's very important to point out to people that the expectation of profits from the work of others is also something that is not in any way related to TEXITcoin. When you're talking about a community currency that's not Bitcoin, the currency itself has no value outside of what the community is able to give to it. You realize that without community participation, you'd be mining a hobbyist coin with no value whatsoever. And so we make it very clear to people, not just that it's an incredible risk and that it's not an investment and it should be treated more like gambling or a lottery ticket, but that the result is depending directly on our community and its ability to create value, whether that's through trading or through buying and selling on an exchange or for using it to buy goods and services. We encourage all of those things. But everyone should understand that it is not a traditional investment. It doesn't have a fixed rate of return. There's no contract involved. What you get is TXC every day. And so sometimes it's a better deal to buy TXC off the open market. Sometimes it's a better deal to acquire TXC through a mining package. But at the end of the day, what you get is exactly the same. And the difference about whether I plug in the mining rig or you plug it in seriously cannot be what makes it a security or what doesn't.
Yeah. Thanks for that clarity. And I'm very again. I want to say I'm sorry for the legal legal this thing that you guys had the court legal updates, the legal case. I did a research on it, and you said you guys spent about $973,000 in the out of pocket for the legal case, and I'm really sorry about that. When you're
Oh
trying to
no, it's
explain,
way more than that.
it's way more than that.
We're
For real.
yeah, we're coming up on probably 5 million now in legal fees. But
What?
that's one of the things that's powerful about our community project. We've got resources to deal with challenges like this with the best attorneys in the world. We can compete at the highest levels because our community is so strong and our resources are so vast through our community project. But don't feel bad for us at all. We see it as a rite of passage. Any project that's going to get big is going to get itself in the spotlight. The regulators are going to look closely at it. How could they know that it wasn't a scam like so many other projects came before it? How could they know that it wasn't a pump and dump scheme or a pyramid or a Ponzi or a rug pull? They couldn't know that until they put it under the microscope and get facts and evidence in open court. And so it's expensive and it's frustrating and it's reputationally painful. And it's, certainly not something we're particularly excited about or proud of, but it had to happen. And it's behind us now. And we'll have a verdict sometime in the next few months. But as far as we're concerned, that verdict was already reached last week in open public court when the state showed exactly what they have against us, which is absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I saw it on the information I discovered, and you guys had it on is it August August 11th or something like that. But yeah, I did a little bit and search on that, and I saw it. The very you guys are trying to most want it. I think it is I've forgotten. I'll do more research on it, but yeah, I appreciate the answer, and I'm not trying to say this out of my own research, but you guys are proving that what you guys are building is not a scam, and it's not something that someone who wants to invest in is going to regret from it, because you guys have proved with the money you guys have spent that you guys are here to stay, and you're here to build a decentralized system for those who are into cryptocurrency. So yeah, I appreciate that, and
Thank
thank
you.
you thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to hear about it and give us our
Sure thing.
inputs on it.
And thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
I'm glad you got to see some of it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Bobby.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jerry. You really had keen insight in bringing that out towards in today's AMA. I really want to appreciate that from your end. I really, really appreciate when listeners, participants bring out very detailed research about a project, because it shows that you're not just only depending on the AMA section. Obviously, the AMA section is always a way to draw out certain details about the project. But when you do your own research, it helps you, create a balance in your mind as to whether to invest or not to invest, especially seeing the hard work that the team has put to ensure the ecosystem is sustainable and keeps running on the long run. So I think this is how we wrap up today's AMA. It was a very, very, very interactive and interesting section with Bobby, how he breaks down everything about the project, and seeing how he's well knowledgeable about what they are building is something incredible to see. And Bobby, you're the founder of TextIt, right?
I am the founder. That's right.
So it's right for me to say kudos to you and your team, and the project overall. The kind of community you guys are building is something incredible to see in today's space. And from the way you speak, we could actually sense the transparency you're trying to build around your project, and it's another thing I also want to commend you about. So, but before I close on the VC, I definitely want to give you a voice to give the concluding statements.
Well, thank you very much. It was nice to be invited here to join you. And thanks for giving me a forum to share my side of the story post TSSB court. Look, I'm really happy with the work that we've done so far. It took me a long time to get into crypto. I created the original Bitcoin coin back in 2012, before most people ever heard of Bitcoin, but I didn't buy any. Bitcoin was $5 back then. I didn't like it. I didn't understand it. I didn't trust it, and I missed it. And I missed it again in 2017 when I took that world famous coin design and I turned it into a functional cold storage wallet. Same thing. Didn't understand it, didn't like it, didn't trust it, didn't get in. And I missed it again. And it took me the better part of a dozen years to understand what I'm missing. And what I'm missing is a financial technology that puts the control and the issuance of money back in the hands of individuals like you and me. And that matters. It matters because for more than 100 years, the inflation silent theft has taken away 98% of our money's purchasing power. And the US dollar, the Federal Reserve System, is the standard that the rest of the world emulates. And so it's not just an American problem. We've got this problem everywhere in the world. And so I didn't understand this technology that we have. But today I do. And when I finally got it, that's when I started TEXITcoin, because TEXITcoin is what happens when a financial technology like Bitcoin and crypto gets paired up with a project that's as important as honest money. And if you like that concept and you like the idea of giving the power and issuance and control of money back to people, then take a look at TEXITcoin. Consider picking up a handful on an open market. Never put in anything more than you're comfortable completely losing. But if you want to take that journey with us and go back in that crypto Bitcoin time machine to when the community cared about digital, decentralized, peer-to-peer money, then check out TEXITcoin and let's take a trip together.
Thank you so much, Bobby, once again. And thank you, everyone, for joining today's AMA. And I hope in the future, Bobby, as your project continues to grow and cross so many milestones, we hope to have you in the future here back at GoldDiggers Call. The channel will always be open to you, your team, and your projects. Thank you all so much once again. I'll see you guys in the next AMA.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night.